Forever. Dog.
Welcome to Public Domain Theater with Kelly Nugent, Lindsay Cather, and guest Jenny Jaffe. Reading Wagner? Unknown. Matinee by Willa, Cather.
Welcome to Public Domain Theater, the podcast of highbrow readings and lowbrow commentary. I'm one of your hosts, Lindsay Cather.
I'm another one of your hosts, Kelly Nugent.
I'm a guest. I'm Jenny Jaffe.
Jenny Jaffe's here.
Yeah.
She,
Good job. You introduced yourself.
Thank you for introducing yourself.
Very
most people
enterprising.
They usually
But
just
they're
smile
very
at us.
lazy and dumb.
Oh, it
Yeah.
just seemed like there was a rhythm going, and I didn't want to
I liked it.
I am
Yeah.
so happy.
Yeah.
Let's see. Will this have come out before or after the episode of Teen Creeps she did with us? After, correct?
Next day.
So if you listen to Teen Creeps, you would be like, "Oh yay,
I'm
I
already a
recognize
fan.
that voice. I'm already a fan." But
Yeah.
if you for some reason don't listen to Teen Creeps,
Wow, you're weird.
wow,
It's really
that is
surprising you would listen to
really
this and not
weird.
that.
You're such a William, which you would get if you listened to Teen Creeps.
That's so true.
That's so true. Dead idiot.
But you may. Oh yeah, that's the one that died.
Yeah.
That's what I want on my tombstone.
Dead
That's
idiot.
the one that died.
No, just, yeah, both.
Dead idiot.
Dead idiot.
That's the one that died.
Yeah.
You dead idiot. Yeah.
I'm gonna go ahead and say her credits here at the top,
Yeah.
and then you can be like, "Wow, what?
Okay.
What a get!"
I will.
Not you. I was looking directly in your eyes, but I was talking to the listeners.
Oh, I was like, wow, Kelly's really giving me instructions for this.
You may know her from the Emmy-nominated Big Hero 6.
Wow.
The Rugrats reboot.
What a
That's so
get.
cool. She's the creator and star of Neurotica on IFC.
What a snag.
You may
I
know her
wanted
from-
to switch it up.
Oh, that's good snag. Fortune Rookie, which just premiered on IFC.
Shut your face.
I will not. She is the founder of the mental health nonprofit You Are Okay.
And she is better than okay.
She is stellar.
Thank you guys so much.
You're so welcome.
What a get.
What a
writer.
get.
What a get.
Jenny
What a
Jaffe.
get.
What a get. Oh, fantastic.
That's
Count
going
your
to be the
blessings,
third
everyone.
thing on my tombstone.
What a get.
Dead idiot. That's the one who died. What a get.
And then attributed to God. Oh, man. Guys, we are reading okay, do we think it's Wagner or Wagner?
Probably Wagner.
Do we think that?
I don't know.
What's the origin
Oh,
of this? Where did this
good
come
call.
from?
Virginia.
Oh,
But like,
whack.
what's the like?
Oh, what? I have
what's
no
the
idea.
content?
Don't
But like,
know.
if it's American, it's probably
I feel like if it's American, then it's
Wagner.
probably Wagner. So, what
Oh.
do we know about Willa Cather?
Hold the phone.
Yes.
Jenny, are you much of a reader?
yeah.
Cool.
You enjoy reading?
We usually ask
I
our
like
guests
reading.
if they're big readers.
Some people,
yeah.
if
Most
they're
people don't.
yeah. If,
I'm a
if you
big
did the
reader.
assigned reading.
I did 70% of the assigned reading. So
That's another inside joke to our Teen Creeps episode.
Sorry,
You
you better
dead idiots.
subscribe. No, I read. I do a lot of audiobooks now that I'm in LA, but when I was in New York, I'd always have a book with me, and now I don't.
Yeah,
LA is devoid
same.
of culture, so I listen to audiobooks, and it's good.
Cool. Do you have
Nice.
a favorite genre?
I like memoir right now. Just been reading a lot of. I'll read anything anyone I vaguely like has written about their life. And I love anything about cult. I love true crime. So yeah,
That's
those
awesome.
are things I like.
Nice.
Cool.
Not a lot of fiction these days for some reason.
That seems to be
I
the
think
case.
One person is like, yeah, I read a lot of fiction. We're like, what?
Most people read nonfiction and memoirs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Me
there
too.
you go.
Yeah.
But we're gonna make you read some fiction tonight.
I like it. I'm excited.
We're sorry.
Okay, so what do we know about Willa Cather?
Woman.
Woman.
Cather.
Cather.
Invented the
Of
catheter.
Of the
New England Cathers.
Okay. So what? Okay, can you guys guess when was she born?
1915.
Okay,
I'm going to say 1836.
you got 3 numbers right out of 4. One of the numbers transposed. You
60.
got one of the numbers right.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Born 1873.
Oh.
Good for her.
Good for her.
Okay.
You know what? Women all over the world. Period.
Good for her being born in 1873 and knowing how
Yeah.
to write.
Brave.
Dude, yeah.
Yeah.
Just like knowing how.
What a good writer.
What a Kate.
Yeah.
Listen to teen creeps.
You fucking idiot.
So when do we think she died?
1874.
She's the most talented baby.
What if she's still alive? Is that a trick question?
Ooh.
Whoa.
Kelly, trick us with that question in the future.
Oldest person in the world.
I'm gonna be crazy. I'm gonna say 1915.
Oh, so also young. 1947.
Oh,
That's a nice long life.
Nice long life.
I thought it'd be fun if I said Jenny's guess for the first part.
For the birth.
Yeah.
That was a good callback, Lindsay.
I also liked it.
Thank you.
Thumbs up. Okay. So Cather was born Willa Silbert Cather.
Her first name had too many many syllables. Her last name didn't have enough.
Not just taking a sip of coffee. I would have been fully with you just then.
Willa.
That is so fucking funny.
She
I
was
am Willa.
Willa. No, you heard right. Willa Silbert Cather. In 1873, on her maternal grandmother's farm in the Back Creek Valley near Winchester, Virginia. So, at the urging of Charles Cather's parents, so I guess it's her dad, the family moves to Nebraska in 1883.
So she was not married.
We're not there yet.
Okay.
Well, I don't know. Maybe she was. Maybe she wasn't. When she was 9 years old, the rich flat farmland appealed to Charles's father, and the family wanted to escape the tuberculosis outbreaks that were happening in Virginia. So Cather's time in the western state, still on the frontier, was a deeply formative experience for her. She was intensely moved by the dramatic environment and weather, the vastness of the Nebraska prairie, and the various cultures of the European American, immigrant, and Native American families in the area. She goes to University of Nebraska. In the early 1890s, she sometimes used the masculine nickname William and wore masculine clothing.
Cool.
Interesting. A photograph in the University of Nebraska archives depicts Cather dressed like a young man and with her hair shingled at a time when females wore their hair fashionably long.
Fuck yeah, Willa.
Okay, interesting.
Willa.
Willa. Well, here's the thing. So her sexual identity remains a point of contention among scholars.
Oh.
So
I knew it.
Many argue for Cather as a lesbian and interpret her work through a lens of queer theory. A highly vocal contingent of Cather scholars adamantly oppose such considerations. For example, scholar Janet Sharistanian has written, Cather did not identify herself as a lesbian or label herself a lesbian, nor would she wish us to do so, and we do not know whether her relationships with women were sexual.
Sounds like a homophobe.
Yes. Nevertheless, throughout Cather's
So
adult
defensive.
life, her most significant friendships were with women. And I also wonder if maybe because she's dressing in like male assigned
She may
clothing,
have
if maybe
been
she's trans.
That was where my brain went first.
Yeah.
Gender.
Yeah. So interesting.
She may have gone with the pronoun they.
Maybe. Or maybe he. We don't know.
Or maybe he. Lost to time.
Okay, so her most significant friendships are with women. These include her college friend, Louise Pound, the Pittsburgh socialite, Isabel McClung, with whom Cather traveled to Europe and at whose Toronto home she stayed for prolonged visits, the opera singer Olive Fremstad, the pianist Yalta Menuhin, and most notably the editor Edith Lewis, with whom Cather lived the last 39 years of her life.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so it definitely sounds like her
right.
friend is just being homophobic.
Yeah.
In 1906,
Well,
Cather-
but also if she was trans, then it wasn't a lesbian relationship.
Right, exactly, maybe.
it's so.
It's one of them, though.
Or maybe she was closeted and then unknown, right? Because then maybe what's her name? Who's the friend? Whatever. The friend. Janet. Maybe Jan doesn't want to out her. We don't know.
Yeah,
That
maybe she's
being
being a
said-
I
good
thought she was
friend.
just a historian.
Oh,
I don't know.
maybe. You know what? She's a scholar.
Wait, is this
Yeah.
going to be good literature? In my head, I was like public domain.
Know. We never
We never
So
know.
I was picturing like the stories you have to read for like reading comprehension on like the PSATs.
Some of them are good.
Yeah.
And some of them are really
Most
bad.
of them have been bad because Brett hates us.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's his like long con of revenge.
Yeah. Well, Brett's just kind of a hateful person.
He
So.
is.
Every time he walks in a room, he's like, I need to know, I'm going to tell you how much I hate you in order of how much I hate you. And then he ranks everybody in the room.
He did it just now. So for all
Yeah.
acting weird, it's because we know that I'm the number one most hated.
Yeah.
Lindsay's second and Kelly's third.
And Kelly feels a little like upset that she is not, at the very least, the number one most hated.
Right. And
If you're going to be
honestly,
hated, be the most.
And engineer Alec was like mad that he didn't even point at Alec. Like Alec
That's
was
how
like,
much he
I'm in the
hates
room.
him.
And he's like, he like really secretly number one is Alec.
yeah, that's true.
Because he was like, I'm not even acknowledging.
I don't know her.
It's a really
Right.
weird
I don't know
move.
her.
Mm-hmm.
So honestly, Brett,
So this could be any amount of bad.
this could be. We don't
or
know.
any amount of good.
Some of them are great.
What if this is like so moving and beautiful?
We had one that was so moving.
Oh,
It was sad and moving,
Oh, that
though.
was sad.
It was sad. We
That
have
was so
some sad
sad. That was another story of a closeted
Oh yeah.
character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ugh, horrible. That her horrible husband. Okay.
Beautiful.
1906, Cather moves to New York City after publishing her first collection of short stories, The Troll Garden. You know what? Brett came in here and he was like, if it isn't the Troll Garden, and looked at all of us.
Yeah, he did do
He
that.
did do that. It was
So
really rude.
pointed.
It was so pointed. During the following decade, Cather has a prolific period of productivity, publishing many of her most famous novels, including O Pioneers, The Song of the Lark, and My Antonia. That's what she wrote.
And I thought a woman wrote that, and somebody told me no, a man wrote that.
Well, they are wrong, and you need to send
or
them this
is it
podcast.
they're
good?
dead right.
Or maybe who
We
knows?
don't know.
Who knows?
I never read it.
My mom bought it for me, and then I never read it.
I just saw the TV movie with Neil Patrick Harris, and I remember none of it.
I didn't even know there was a TV
Yeah.
movie with NPH.
Mm-hmm.
In the 1930s, however, critics began to dismiss her as a romantic, nostalgic writer who could not cope with the present. Critics such as Granville Hicks charged Cather with failing to confront contemporary life as it is and
What?
escaping it into an idealized past.
What the fuck? Tons of people write about the past.
Yeah,
Suck a dick. What the fuck is that?
Weird
I'm
commentary.
very angry on
What
Willa's
a weird,
behalf.
specific, but also not specific.
And also
critique.
feels personal.
It does.
Feels like
But
he just doesn't
remember
like
when
her
we thought
or
that
him
Ernest
or
Hemingway
them.
Remember when we thought that Ernest Hemingway hated that one guy, but then because he like wrote a letter to the U.S. Embassy being like, if you let this guy be
No,
an
that was
embassy-
Mark Twain.
Oh, Mark
I
Twain.
think.
Yeah, it was Mark Twain.
It was Mark Twain about some guy. Oh yeah,
and he was like, if you let him vomit upon the United States,
by
being
sending him to this other country, and we were like, wow, Mark Twain, you're a bitch. And then by the end of the story, we were like, fuck this guy. Mark Twain was right.
so what did he say? His writing reeked of insecurity. So sad.
It was, yeah,
That's the meanest thing you
it's
can say
like
to
we
somebody.
learned a new word.
Yeah.
Anywho,
Cather grows increasingly discouraged as the U.S. moves closer to involvement in World War II. When the French army surrendered to Nazi Germany, Cather writes in her diary, "There seems to be no future at all for people of my generation." Man, she sounds like somebody
sounds like
now.
us. Yeah.
On April 24th, 1947, she dies of a cerebral hemorrhage at the age of 73 in her home at 570 Park Avenue in Manhattan.
Oh, Park Avenue.
Okay, well,
Park
Ella.
Avenue. That's very nice. Okay, ready?
Yes.
Gonna get this thing started. Interrupt at any point that you guys
Oh yeah, make
deem
jokes,
necessary.
interrupt, ask questions.
I just want to be a good listener. Okay,
Then be an active listener.
I'm just
Ask questions.
eyes open, ears open, legs crisscross applesauce.
Hands in my pockets. I received one morning a letter written in pale ink on glassy blue-lined notepaper and bearing the postmark of a little Nebraska village.
What the fuck is pale ink?
No
Like,
idea.
She can't read it. It's a
was
blank
like
piece of paper.
invisible
Jelly
ink.
roll Markle.
Yes, jelly roll.
It's the sparkly one.
Jelly rolls don't work with how I hold my pencil, so I
Oh.
get sad.
Wow. High
'Cause
school
I-
must have been terrible.
It was really upsetting. Like they would work for like 2 days and then they wouldn't work. So I hold it like with the tip of it facing this way, and so
Oh yeah,
like
you can't do that, Kelly.
yeah, and then
What are
so
you doing?
writing that way it like presses the wrong way. So basically, for the listeners, I write with the tip of the pencil facing me.
She writes like
Towards
she
me.
wants to stab herself with the pencil.
Yes, and in fact, I do. This communication, worn and rubbed, looking as though it had been carried for some days in a coat pocket that was none too clean, was from my Uncle Howard. It informed me that his wife had been left a small legacy by a bachelor relative who had recently died, and it had become necessary for her to come to Boston to attend the settling of the estate. He requested me to meet her at the station and render her whatever services might prove necessary. On examining the date indicated as that of her arrival, I found it no later than tomorrow.
What? It sounds like this guy did not want her to
No,
know
he
this
didn't
was
want her to know.
happening.
He had characteristically delayed writing until, had I been away from home for a day, I might have missed the good woman altogether. The name of my Aunt Georgiana called up not alone her own... What? The name of my Aunt Georgiana called up not alone her own figure, at once pathetic and grotesque, but opened before my feet a gulf of recollection so wide and deep that as the letter dropped from my hand, I felt suddenly a stranger to all the present conditions of my existence.
Okay, look, Willa. Maybe it's because you were born Willella.
Yeah, so
and you don't
Georgiana.
know. Yeah.
Too many syllables.
Too many syllables.
Georgia.
There were too many
Georgina.
words in that sentence. There's too much going on.
Too much.
That was way too much. My brain glossed over.
So did mine, and I was
like,
reading it.
I was like staring at Kelly's mouth so that like each word hit with me and I didn't lose any of them. So I do understand, like, she hates her aunt for one thing. But
she's,
that
like, physically
sentence
is
was
disgusting.
offensively worded.
Yeah. Okay. So Aunt Georgiana is, from what we know, very terrible looking, but also she has a lot of memories with her.
Yep, bad ones.
I became, in short, the gangling farmer boy my aunt had known, scourged with chilblains and bashfulness, my hands cracked and raw from the corn husking. I felt the knuckles of my Nebraska.
And so this is from the point of view. She's writing from the point of view of
a
a man.
man. I
Okay.
think so.
Yes.
I felt the knuckles of my thumb tentatively, as though they were raw again. I sat again before her parlor organ, thumbing the scales with my stiff red hands while
Parlor organ.
Parlor organ.
Stiff red
okay.
hand.
Okay.
Now I know what you're saying.
While she beside me made canvas mittens for the Husker.
Canvas
Oh,
mittens for the
Huskers.
Huskers.
Scratchy. Yummy.
That's the old timey way to say dental dam.
Yum. You just
Canvas mittens for the Huskers.
what you do is you just
For
take
the
like
old Husker.
you put like a little, you rip off a piece of like canvas cloth from your shirt and then you like put it over the vagina.
And that's how you
And then you
prevented
just like
sex.
and then you just like go ham on it.
And that's why everyone was still having children. Because it did not work.
And people were like, let's not do this and instead do sex. Let's
They're like, I guess.
It just reminds me of that terrible part in 50 Shades of Grey where he just like goes ham on her vagina with a washcloth.
I don't know. I do not know.
A soapy
We read
washcloth.
it only for our podcast.
Yeah, we read it for a podcast. He takes a soapy washcloth and just like scrubs the shit out of her vagina.
But like
in a very
not
fast
during one of the like BDSM.
No. This was like I'm
this is just, like,
making love.
normal
This is
sex.
supposed to be just like hot.
He's like being tender to her. She's taking a bath and he's like, let me put my arm in the bath with a washcloth.
I get it now. He's from Nebraska.
Oh, he was corn
He's
husker.
from Nebraska.
He was using the canvas mitten
Yeah,
for
he
his
was
husker.
he was used to just like fucking with a corn husk.
The next morning, after preparing my landlady somewhat, I set out for the station. When the train arrived, I had some difficulty in finding my aunt. She was the last of the passengers to alight, and when I got her into the carriage, she looked not unlike one of those charred, smoked bodies that firemen lift from the debris of a burned building.
What?
She's Rowena.
Oh, no!
Enjoy this being filled with Teen Graves references. Just
Okay,
to
first
the brim.
of all, like, you don't have to be, like, that mean about your aunt. Like, you don't have to say that she looks like a burned up
charred
corpse.
little piece of shit. Just like her fucking black soul.
It's like,
By the way, I don't like my aunt very much.
I don't know if you can tell, but I don't like her. No. Okay. She had come all the way in a day coach. Her linen duster had become black with soot and her black bonnet gray with dust during the journey.
I'm just glad it wasn't a racist comparison now.
Me too. When we arrived at my boarding house, the landlady put her to bed at once, and I did not see her again until the next morning. Whatever. Wait,
Can you imagine if your landlord just came out and grabbed your gift and was like, tucking you in now?
Let me take that aunt off your hands.
For some reason, I was picturing like a little bug ant on your hand and he's like plucking it off. Mostly because with the rain, ants have been like trying to come into my house. And so today I found like a little ant on my arm and I was like, oh, get the fuck away from me.
And then you went up to your landlord and you're like, this is your job.
I was like, help me. Whatever shock Mrs. Springer experienced at my aunt's appearance, she considerately concealed. Myself, I saw my aunt's misshapen figure with that feeling of awe and respect with which we behold explorers who have left their ears and fingers north of Franz Josef Land or their health somewhere along the
Sick
Upper
burn.
Congo. Sick burn. My Aunt Georgiana had been a music teacher at Boston Conservatory somewhere back in the latter 60s. One summer, which she had spent in her little village in the Green Mountains where her ancestors had dwelt for generations, she had kindled the callow fancy of the most idle and shiftless of all the village lads, and had conceived for this Howard Carpenter one of those absurd and extravagant passions which a handsome country boy of 21 sometimes inspires in a plain, angular, spectacled woman of 30.
I have Kelly. Kelly, please slow down. I don't know what's happening. I am too dumb for you to talk with that much comfort in the words.
The narrator
I don't know what's happening.
Okay,
is just saying.
one time
Uh-huh.
she was in the Green Mountains
Okay.
where her ancestors came from.
Yeah.
She got one of like the dumbest fucks in the village.
Oh, okay.
Liked her.
And
Ugh.
this was her uncle, or this was
Classic.
the narrator's uncle, Howard.
Howard.
Who
Oh,
was just
okay.
a dumb fuck who was like, oh, an angular woman of 30 likes me.
Oh, okay.
Nice.
See, I told you I'm too dumb. I did not follow this.
When she returned to her duties in Boston, Howard followed her. And the upshot of this inexplicable infatuation was that she eloped with him, eluding the reproaches of her family and the criticism of her friends by going with him to the Nebraska frontier.
Wow.
Carpenter, who of course had no money, took a homestead in Red Willow County, 50 miles from the railroad.
You know, that's fucking disgusting and sad.
Ew. I don't know if that's far or close from the railroad to olden time people. But ew.
But ew.
There they measured off their 80 acres by driving across the prairie in a wagon, to the wheel of which they'd tied a red cotton handkerchief and counting off its revolutions. They built a dugout in the red hillsides. So I think they were like, so they tie a
And
handkerchief.
then every time it went around, they were like,
1, 2. Yeah. But then they're so stupid they can only count to like 8. So then they have to keep starting over. And they built a dugout in the red hillside, one of those cave dwellings whose inmates usually reverted to the conditions of primitive savagery. Okay. All right. What is your name again? What's her name?
Georgiana?
Willa.
Oh, Willella?
Willella. Their water they got from the lagoons where the buffalo drank, and their slender stock of provisions was always at the mercy of bands of roving Indians.
Plus, one of them got dysentery.
For 30 years, my aunt had not been farther than 50 miles from the homestead.
Is that far or close?
We don't know.
Willa.
Oh, so she's been. Guess where we know she's been? To the railroad.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
So we know she's been to the railroad.
Okay.
But Mrs. Springer knew nothing of all this and must have been considerably shocked
Okay.
at what was left of my kinswoman.
Okay. So it must have been very far because she got fucked up.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think. Beneath the soiled linen duster, which on her arrival was the most conspicuous feature of her costume, she wore a black stuff dress. Okay. Black stuff dress, whose ornamentation
Made of
showed
bits and stuff.
just some stuff she found.
Thanks.
Showed that she had surrendered herself unquestioningly into the hands of a country dressmaker.
Ew. What is she, poor?
Ew.
Ew, she sounds
She's a
poor.
poor.
She's a poor.
Ew. I don't want to read this anymore, Brett.
Where did she get this? From the railroad? My poor
This
aunt.
is fucking gross. Can we stop and read something rich, please?
Ew. Do you guys like Gossip Girl?
Rich enough for me.
Rich.
Fine.
Oh, totally.
You think I was never a tone? Anyway, I'm such a bad,
You're too bad.
sassy cunt.
You're a fucking bad person.
We're like,
I love it.
we're like sociopathic. My poor aunt's figure. Oh, yeah. My poor aunt's figure, however, would
She
have
was
presented astonishing difficulties to any dressmaker. Oh,
This
here's where
motherfucker
we
needs to
go
go the
here.
fuck Down.
Okay, we are about to get. I mean, we were already like almost racist, but now we're getting like racist.
Oh, cool.
Her skin was yellow as a Mongolian. From constant exposure to a pitiless wind and to the alkaline water, which transforms the most transparent cuticle into some sort of flexible leather.
I thought alkaline water was good.
Well, you know what? This story from 18 whatever says that it's not, Lindsay, so wake up to the future.
What?
She wore
That's a great podcast idea, though. Actually, wake up to the future.
Wake up to the
wake up to the future.
I think you get an HBO show now.
Thank you.
Just off the name alone.
Thank you so much. Yeah. She wore ill-fitting false teeth. The most striking thing about her physiognomy, however, was the incessant twitching of the mouth and eyebrows.
Is this all this story is about?
Just like him dissing his aunt.
Because, like, I am seeing how much is left in Kelly's portion.
It's
not
all
a lot.
about her.
It's like in the end, it's going to be like, and that woman, Mother Teresa. And you readers thought she was so bad and poor, but she was the nicest.
She was the nicest poor.
So now and if you take a look at the man in the mirror, then you'll discover that when you point, 3 are pointing back at yourself.
And you don't have to do that. Actually,
don't.
if you point in a mirror and you're all the hands are pointing at you.
And so you should.
Thank you.
The most striking thing about her physiognomy, however, was an incessant twitching of the mouth and eyebrows, a form of nervous disorder resulting from isolation and monotony and from frequent physical suffering. Ew.
I hate physical suffering.
I hate people who suffer. Suffer less.
In my boyhood, this affliction had possessed a sort of horrible fascination for me, of which I was secretly very much ashamed. For in those days, I owed to this woman most of the good that ever came my way.
So
and
I
had
constantly masturbated thinking about it. It was a real dilemma.
and had a reverential affection for her. During 3 winters when I was writing, I thought it said writing hard. During the 3 winters when I was writing herd for my uncle, my aunt, after cooking when I was writing herd for my uncle, my aunt, after cooking 3 meals for half a dozen farmhands and putting the 6 children to bed, would often stand until midnight at her ironing board, hearing me at the kitchen table beside her recite Latin declensions and conjugations, and gently shaking me when my drowsy head sank down over a page of irregular verbs. It was to her, at her ironing or mending, that I read my first Shakespeare, and her old textbook of mythology was the first that ever came into my empty hands. She taught me my scales and exercises, too, on the little parlor organ which her husband had bought her after 15 years.
Then why have you been such a little snot the whole first third of this story?
Because she's ugly.
Oh, yeah.
During which she had not so much as seen any instrument except an accordion that belonged to one of the Norwegian farmhands. She would sit beside me by the hour, darning and counting, while I struggled with the harmonious blacksmith. But she seldom talked to me about music, and I understood why. She was a pious woman. She had the consolation of religion, and to her at least her martyrdom was not wholly sordid. Once, when I had been doggedly beating out some easy passages from an old score of Euryanthe.
I don't know why you don't know how to say this, Kelly. Sounds easy.
Euryanthe. I had found among her music books. She came up to me, and putting her hands over my eyes, gently drew my head back upon her shoulder, saying tremulously, "Don't love it so well, Clark, or it may be taken from you. Oh, dear boy, pray that whatever your sacrifice be, it is not that."
Huh?
What's happened? Tie.
Jenny, what's going
Thanks,
on?
Auntie. Cool. Sorry, Auntie. Oh,
Cool.
I'm just going to keep practicing, though.
When my aunt appeared on the morning after her arrival, she was still in a semi-somnambulant state.
Sleepwalky.
She's sleepy. She seemed not to realize that she was in a city where she had spent her youth, the place longed for hungrily half a lifetime. She had been so wretchedly train-sick throughout the journey that she had no recollection.
This poor woman.
She's covered in soot.
Poor woman.
She's barfing.
She's
terribly ugly and poor.
This she like basically like rolled to wherever he is. She looks terrible. Oh God, poor auntie.
Well, your uncle just bound my limbs together like I was a pig that he'd caught, and then he gave me a good sturdy push out from the prairie lands.
The wind took me,
and then God saw me the rest of the way.
I'm just a pious woman with a face like sooty spaghetti and a body like a bunch of garbage bags tied together.
and filled with gerbils.
And full of a hateful, paranoid religious fervor.
No, it's just me, your garbage witch aunt, who's been vomiting for 50 miles.
Rest your head on my chest, young
Let me tell you what you shan't not sacrifice.
That she had no recollection of anything but her discomfort.
Oh.
And, to all intents and purposes, there were but a few hours of nightmare between the farm in Red Willow County and my study on Newbury Street. She's just in her own personal hell.
She's in like a nightmare fugue state.
Where am I?
She's like, I'm playing
How
my
did I
demons.
get here? I don't remember anything.
And she shows up and her asshole nephew's just like, oh, the fugly bitch is here.
Where am I?
She's like, I found you. I've made it.
Oh, this is where I grew up. I didn't recognize anything in my horrible train sickness.
Train sickness.
I had planned a little pleasure for her that afternoon to repay her for some of the glorious moments she had given me when we used to milk together in the straw-thatched cowshed. I thought he hated this bitch.
Yeah, I know.
What the hell was the first page of this story?
He's just being so
So
like, you know, you're
confused.
meanest to the ones you know.
I feel
Lauren.
like people in old timey stories, though, are always talking about people they supposedly like by being like, she had a large withered jaw. It's just like,
Yeah.
I don't understand why you speak about
Your
this person this
description
way.
is so hateful.
It's kind of like it's like reading like Bertie Wooster talking about his like aunts that he legitimately hates.
Yeah, but he legitimately
Like, he
hates
hated
those
them,
ants.
yeah.
this,
But
like,
she does sound like all of those ants.
but this also like a lot of these old stories, which we found, have a lot of like fear of age and like ageism.
yeah,
And so they'll like talk about older people as if they are disgusting.
yeah.
Like walking
Ailments
death.
probably go along with that.
Yeah.
And she, because I was more than usually tired, or because her husband had spoken sharply to me, would tell me of the splendid performance of Meyerbeer's Huguenots she had seen in Paris in her youth. At 2:00, the Boston Symphony Orchestra was to give a Wagner program. Definitely Wagner.
Wagner.
I
Okay.
forgot that was the
Yeah.
name of this.
Forgot.
Yeah, me
Okay,
too. I
okay.
forgot there was a debate.
Oh, music.
So we know. And I intended to take my aunt, though as I conversed with her, I grew doubtful about her enjoyment of it. Indeed, for her own sake, I could only wish her taste for such things quite dead. And
I
the
wish she
long-
liked more Nazi composers.
I fear that she will have no appreciation for their glorious cause.
Is that where this is going?
God,
Oh, no. Is she a secret
did
Nazi?
hate. She thought her generation was doomed. So
But,
this
like-
might be a critique on that.
Oh.
I don't know. Who
Maybe
knows
like
what
My
Nazi.
horrible Jew aunt. I'm Jewish. It's cool.
It's cool. It's cool.
I lost my place. Okay. And the long struggle mercifully ended at last. I suggested
Long struggles very Hitler.
Yeah. Dude, is this
Hey,
is this
don't worry
a
about
Nazi
it.
story?
You know what? When has Brett ever led us astray? The answer is always.
He's led us astray so many times that a listener sent him an embroidered thing that says "No more animal death, Brett."
I forgot what it said exactly. I suggested her visiting the conservatory in common before lunch, but she seemed altogether too timid to wish to venture out. She questioned me absently about various changes in the city, but she was chiefly concerned.
Why is the city changing?
Why is that tree not the tree it used to be? But she was chiefly concerned that she had forgotten to leave instructions about feeding half-skimmed milk to a certain weakling calf. Old Maggie's calf, you know, Clark. she explained, evidently having forgotten how long I had been away. She was further troubled because she had neglected to tell her daughter about the freshly opened kit of mackerel in the cellar that would spoil if it were not used directly. I asked her whether she had ever heard of any of the Wagnerian operas and found that she had not, though she was perfectly familiar with their respective situations and had once possessed the piano score of The Flying Dutchman. I began to think it would have been best to get her back to Red Willow County without waking her, and regretted having suggested the concert.
Wait, he's trying to send her back while she's sleeping?
Like, you know what? I'm just gonna
roll you right back
again.
Roll you back to Red Hill, Auntie.
I don't think you're gonna like Wagner, so I'm just gonna get you back on that train fever.
This is his hill to die on?
Yeah.
Fucking Wagner?
If you can't appreciate Wagner, then I don't even know what we're doing.
Oh my God.
From the time we entered the concert hall, however, she was a trifle less passive and inert and seemed to begin to perceive her surroundings.
Wait.
Was she like fucking delirious?
Was she like sleeping?
I don't know.
Because he was like, I wanted to bring her back to Red Hill while she was asleep.
She's like, I'm sad and confused and sick. And he's just like, do you like German opera, you ugly bitch?
Wagner!
Go
Wagner!
home.
She's like, is this where I grew up? Isn't it?
He's like,
Nothing looks familiar
Wagner.
to me. Oh, they get the half-skimmed milk for the cow.
Give me more mystery. Sorry, I'm yelling into all your guys' headphones.
No, it's okay.
We yell all
the time. Constantly yelling.
I had felt some trepidation lest she might become aware of the absurdities of her attire. Jesus Christ. Or might experience some painful embarrassment at stepping suddenly into the world to which she had been dead for a quarter of a century.
Whoa. So if you live on a farm, you're dead to the world.
You're dead to this guy anyway.
Yeah. I only like the city life. You know what? I think that I think she's doing a critique on this type of guy.
I think she
I
is
think
because
so,
she
too.
likes the frontier life.
Yeah.
That's true.
So she's like, you city slickers. Can I really quick tell you guys something that happened to me today?
Yeah.
Yesterday. So a client like sent me this scratch recording for this VO job I was doing, and they were in like WMA format, which is it's like a Windows specific
weird.
thing. So I was like, hey, I can't open that file because I have a Mac. And the email that I received in return was, okay, call when you're free, ... I converted to MP3, ... You Mac people, ... With your skinny jeans and beanie hats and 90-degree weather and no WMA format audio files, ... LOL.
Oh, I think
I was like,
cute.
Tight. No, because then we got on the call. And the reason for the call was that he wanted to give me line readings of every single line.
Oh, is it this guy?
Yeah, with 3
good.
different alts of each line. And then he also wanted to ask me, he's like, oh, so you're in LA. Why aren't you a famous movie star yet? And I was like, because it's not working.
It's like, sorry, I'm just in shitty uncle mode. All my nieces and nephews love me. I fulfill a role.
But instead to that, I said, all right, so I'll just deliver your files by tomorrow. And then he also started the conversation with, oh, we got to catch up. I need to know what's going on in your life. We've talked once, like a year ago, and it was for a similar thing where he wanted to talk to me to give me line readings.
Who is this person?
You want me to say full and last name?
First name, last name, I'll burn him online.
I need to know. But yeah, I'm sure this is satire, but also it's kind of shitty from the other direction because it's not like anybody thinks like this.
That's
This
the
is
thing. It's
super
like
basic.
because it's so over, like it's so on the or like not on the nose, but it's like so over the top that it's
You know what, though? All of those fucking New York Times articles about LA or
It's
people
true.
who move from New York to LA, I think it's real. Those people suck. Those articles are terrible.
Where it's like,
Wait, what
here's
is it?
why I'm leaving New York.
wait, really?
Yeah, or like-
I don't even read these. I don't even know
or
what those
like,
are.
here's what's great about LA that you couldn't find in New York. It's like you can get an apartment out here for so cheap, and then it's like
Like $1,500 a month
Yeah.
for a studio.
And then you find out that like they're trust fund kids. They're like, oh my God, like I guess like I miss New York for the culture, but the rent is great in LA. And it's just all of these shitty articles about how shitty LA is and about how New York people like live better in LA. It's just like
Really? I've
the New
never
York
read
Times
any of
has
these.
so many articles where they are weirdly bitchy about Los
This is
Angeles.
such a thing, but I really think it is a very one-sided rivalry. I
Exactly.
lived in New York for 8 years, and now I've lived in LA for 2. And I went when I was in New York last time. I was like at my agent's office, just kind of like talking to her assistant and talking about how LA is and whatever. And this just girl sitting in the lobby just whips around and is just like, oh, I hate LA. And I was like, oh, well, you know, it's like, it's not New York, but I'm actually really liking it. It's a good place to live. And she's like, well, why'd you move? And I was like, I moved for work. And she's like, oh, so it was like capitalism. And I'm just like, bitch,
She's
you're
so
in
fun. She's so much fucking fun.
But it's like, you're in the
doing
lobby
that.
holding sides at
Yeah.
my agency.
No, she's part of that.
You're part of this. Also, like, what? You would, what?
Are you a child? Like,
But people in New York love to, like, immediately give you a negative opinion about LA. And everyone you tell you're from New York to in LA is like, oh,
welcome.
live in New
seriously.
York?
No, seriously, like
yeah, we
for
don't
me,
think about New York.
no, because we have
don't.
nice things.
Well, and also like when I think
It's fine.
when people mention
New
New
York
York
seems
too,
cool.
yeah,
New
I'm
York's
like,
great.
I'm like, oh yeah, I got to get back out there.
Yeah, New
That's
York's
it.
cool.
Like that's the only thing I think. Like, oh, I've been meaning.
But I
to-
think there is an amount, and I love New York. It's my favorite place. But I think there's a certain amount of Stockholm syndrome you have to have to live
Yes.
there.
you get defensive. You're like, this is
Yeah.
why I'm living here.
Where it's like, well, it's better,
survival.
and I wouldn't want to have a car. I like having a 3-hour subway commute.
yeah.
So
I get to read.
yeah, honestly,
You do get to read them.
I just said that at the top of this podcast.
I would love that,
yeah.
but like,
But yeah, it's
it doesn't
very
mean you have a
defensive.
short. Yeah, people. Somebody tweeted this. I can't remember who it was. Otherwise, I would definitely give credit. But it was like New York people would be like, "Oh my God, LA traffic is so hard," and like your entire train to get home will be broken.
Yeah.
Like you cannot get home.
Yeah. Yeah. That's true.
It's like,
So-
yeah, I'm just sitting in my like air conditioned car listening to a podcast, and
Yeah.
you're like trapped underground in the dark.
Yeah.
So I'm very claustrophobic, so
Me
that's
too.
that's a
Sounds
trait I'll
horrible.
make. I do love and miss New York, but
It's
like,
a really cool
it's
city.
so one sided.
But like, we're fine with you guys. We're fine.
You can move out here or not.
Yeah,
Nobody's.
welcome.
It is a weird
Go
thing. Like
home,
it
do what
seems.
you want.
Yeah. Like I'm like there can be two cities. There can be many cities.
It's weird that the
It
two
is-
cities where you kind of have to be to do this one thing are the farthest apart cities.
Yes.
It is funny. Yeah.
Like that's hard. And like, but it is also the kind of thing where I think New Yorkers hate it because they lose their friends to LA. Because that's how I felt about LA before. I'm from the Bay Area and then I moved to New York. So I'm from the two places that hate LA the most.
Yeah.
Oh,
And then when I
yeah.
go
I was going to say the same thing with NorCal. They
Yeah.
hate Southern California, and Southern
So
California
much.
is like, hi.
And then when I got here, I was like, oh, this is like a nice, fine place.
Yeah.
This seems nice and fine.
Yep.
Maybe I am like Clark the farmhand, judging too harshly my aunt for not liking the Wagner of the cities.
Yes.
okay.
I think that this guy sucks and that it's real.
You fashion nightmare, bitch! like this fascist composer.
You walking trash bag.
Why don't you barf more, you old confused lady?
Oh, you disoriented? Oh, are you feeling scared and lost and alone?
Oh, I'm sorry. Are you not any skinnier yet from your roll through Nebraska?
Welcome to the big city,
How'd that
Nebraska.
Do we know what city this is?
No.
No idea.
I'm from Omaha, motherfucker.
I was going to say it might be like Omaha.
Yeah.
I'm from the capital of Nebraska, you dumb fuck. All right. Oh, you guys.
What?
Here we go.
Okay.
Oh shit.
All right.
Oh no.
It's the very next sentence. After I'll read the sentence before again so that we all remember.
Yes, thank you.
I had felt some trepidation lest she might become aware of the absurdities of her attire or might experience some painful embarrassment at stepping suddenly into the world to which she had been dead for a quarter of a century. But again, I found how superficially I had judged her. That turned on a fucking dime
What
after
happened
we
here?
rented for
What
10
happened
minutes.
here? This guy is like the equivalent of a Broadway song that's like, I'll always love her, but then I'll keep going on and I'll never stop. Yeah, it's like very like popping out from behind like columns and shit.
This would be that thing that people do on Twitter where it's like brick wall, brick wall, brick wall, brick
And
wall.
it's like,
hey!
Yep.
She sat looking about her with eyes as impersonal, almost as stony, as those with which the granite Ramses in a museum watches the froth and fret that ebbs and flows about his pedestal, separated from it by the lonely stretch of centuries. This guy is pretentious.
I go to museums here in big city Omaha.
Yes. I have seen this same aloofness in old miners who drift into the Brown Hotel at Denver.
MINERS? Because otherwise it's old miners.
ERS, like
They
panning
probably
for
did have
gold.
child labor then too.
Yeah,
So
An old miner of 14. Drift into the Brown Hotel at Denver. Ooh, big city. Their pockets full of bullion, their linen soiled, their haggard faces unshorn, and who stand in the thronged corridors as solitary as though they were still in a frozen camp on the Yukon or in the yellow blaze of the Arizona desert. Fucking hell, Willa.
he's like, I know so many places.
And words
Colorado.
and descriptions. Oh, he took
Descriptions.
Gideon's description course. Listen to Teen Creeps.
Teen Creeps.
Conscious that certain experiences have isolated them from their fellows by a gulf no haberdasher could conceal.
Dude.
Why? By a gulf that no mere hat could cover. This guy's like, get this woman a hat.
We gotta cover some of this. We need a professional. Get a haberdasher in here. Get a hat stat.
Ugh, she don't have one. It's embarrassing. Oh, boy. The audience was made up chiefly of women. One lost the contour of faces and figures, indeed any effect of line whatever, and there was only the color contrast of bodices past counting, the shimmer and shading of fabric, soft and firm, silky and sheer, resisting and yielding. Red, mauve, pink, blue, lilac, purple, ecru, rose, yellow, cream, and white. All the colors that an impressionist finds
Those
in
are
a
the
sunlit
lyrics from
landscape.
Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat, almost in order.
His favorite musical.
Oh.
In the future.
Yeah.
In the future.
In the future, my favorite musical will be Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. All the colors that an impressionist finds in a sunlit landscape, with here and there the dead black shadow of a frock coat. My Aunt Georgiana regarded them as though they had been so many daubs of tube paint on a palette. Willa, what the fuck are you talking about right now? When the musicians came out and took their places, she gave a little stir of anticipation.
The music.
And then soot just dripped off.
She's like Jerry Blank. Like she's
She is.
such an impossible hag.
I stole the TV.
And looked with quickening interest down over the rail that an invariable grouping, perhaps the first wholly familiar thing that had greeted her eyes since she had left old Maggie and her weakling calf. I could feel how all those details sank into her soul, for I had not forgotten how they had sunk into mine when I came fresh from plowing forever and forever between green aisles of corn, where, in a treadmill, one might walk from daybreak to dusk without perceiving a shadow of change in one's
They had
environment.
treadmills?
I was
Back
just
then?
thinking that. It must have meant a different thing.
Yeah, and he had a Fitbit.
I'm gonna look up ancient
Yeah,
treadmill.
It must have been like to tread the mill, where we
I'm
walk
sure.
back
I'm
and forth
sure.
across a mill.
Treadmill,
I'm
1800s.
I reminded myself of the impression made on me by the clean profiles of the musicians, the gloss of their linen, the dull black, the dull black of their coats, the beloved shapes of the instruments, the patches of yellow light thrown by the green shaded sand
More
lamps.
colors. I want more colors.
I can't get enough.
You guys, I found out what a treadmill is, and it's sad.
Oh, no.
It was a form of punishment in prisons.
Oh.
So it's like they had this tread wheel, and then they made convicts go on it, and so they step on 24 spokes of a large paddle wheel. So they climb it like a Stairmaster, and then the spokes turn, which cause the gears to pump water or crush grain.
But they got so skinny though.
They looked so good.
I bet they were so slim.
So they would climb the equivalent of 7,200 feet each.
I bet they didn't look like his fat, dumb aunt at all.
Not at all. She needed to go.
I'd rather go to jail than look like his fat, dumb aunt. Okay, so where was I in this fucking rainbow?
Something.
It's like she's stalling. It's like she had like a paper due tomorrow that was like, and it was too short. So she's like, let me throw some colors in.
She's like, oh yeah, well, I've been trying to figure out a color for the room. I'm just gonna go get that color wheel and start throwing all these in there. She's addicted to describing things.
Description course.
Oof. The patches of stand lamps on the smooth, varnished bellies of the cellos, and the bass viols in the rear, the restless, wind-tossed forest of fiddlenecks and bows. Is this a fucking bedtime story? Because Jesus Christ, this is boring. This is a boring story, Brett. I recalled how in the first orchestra I had ever heard, also no story has happened yet.
No.
I had ever heard those long bow strokes seemed to draw the soul out of me as a conjurer's stick reels out ribbon paper from a hat. The first number was the Tannhauser Overture. When the violins drew out the first strain of the Pilgrim's Chorus, my Aunt Georgiana clutched my... Wow, Kelly, you're really going to reach for your phone right now in the middle of this compelling story?
No, I'm looking something up.
In the middle of this compelling story, the first strain of the Pilgrim's Chorus, my Aunt Georgiana clutched my coat sleeve. It was then I first realized that for her, this singing of basses and stinging frenzy of of lighter strings broke a silence of 30 years, the inconceivable silence of the plains. With the battle between two motifs, with the bitter frenzy of the Venusberg theme and its ripping of strings, came to me an overwhelming sense of the waste and where we are so powerless to combat. I saw again the tall, naked house on the prairie. This guy is like just full on having a sermon in his mind.
Yeah. He's standing like stock still.
Yeah. Black and grim as a wooden fortress, the black pond where I had learned to swim, the rain-gullied clay about the naked house, the four dwarf ash seedlings.
I'm sorry, naked house?
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
It was bare. On which the dishcloths were always hung to dry before the kitchen door. The world there is a flat world of the ancients. To the east, a cornfield so dramatic that stretched to daybreak. To the west, a corral that stretched to sunset between the sordid conquests of peace, more merciless than those of war.
Dang, he had like a full out-of-body experience next to his terrible aunt.
So far, the story is just like I took my ugly aunt to the opera and she was into it.
Yeah,
that's the story.
All that has happened.
Seriously.
Okay. My aunt got there. She was tired. She was a little dirty from the train, and she was a little queasy too. She doesn't handle travel that well.
Come on, bitch, let's hear some Wagner.
And I was like,
get in the car. We're going to the opera.
Home.
The overture closed. My aunt released my coat sleeve, but she said nothing. She sat staring at the orchestra through a dullness of 30 years, through the films made little by little, by each of the 365 days in every one of them. What, I wondered, did she get from it? She had been a good pianist in her day, I knew, and her musical education had been broader than that of most music teachers of a quarter of a century ago.
Then maybe it was that?
Maybe it was the music, you dumbass.
She was a trained pianist, and he's like, I wonder what she got from that dumb old cow.
He's like, this decrepit goblin couldn't have gotten anything from this music.
Sure, she used to play in the orchestra, but what could she possibly have pulled from that?
What an idiot.
Ugh.
She had often told me of Mozart's operas and Meyerbeer's, and I could remember hearing her sing years ago certain melodies of Verdi's. When I had fallen ill with a fever, she used to sit by my cot in the evening while the cool night wind blew in through the faded mosquito netting tacked over the window, and I lay watching a bright star that burned red above the cornfield and sing, "Home to our mountains, oh, let us return," in a way fit to break the heart of a Vermont boy near dead of homesickness already.
Okay. Yeah, Vermont
we know.
boy. That is, we all get that analogy.
I watched her closely through the prelude to Tristan and Isolde, trying vainly to conjecture what the warfare of motifs, that seething turmoil of strings and winds, might mean to her. Had this music any message for her?
Oh my, what?
This is insane.
Why is he in such denial?
Just said everything he knew of music came from her. I want to hear the Ants version of this story, which is like,
My
why won't
nephew
my
got so
nephew-
shitty.
Yeah.
They're like, my nephew won't stop staring at me. Why is my nephew staring at
Like,
me
he
right
has
now?
stared at me through
Like,
this
it has
entire
been very
hour-long
distracting.
orchestra.
I have been trying to enjoy the music.
Do you like this, crone?
Speak, open your decrepit mouth.
Or is your ear too blocked by the earwax of your ignorance that nothing comes through?
Someone get her an ear trumpet.
Wagner had been a sealed book to Americans before the 60s. Had she anything left with which to comprehend this glory that had flashed around the world since she had gone from it? I was in a fever of curiosity. But Aunt Georgiana sat silent. She preserved this utter immobility through the numbers from the Flying Dutchman, through her fingers, though her fingers worked mechanically upon her black dress, as though of themselves they were recalling the piano score they had once played. Poor old hands.
But then what could she have gotten from it? What indeed?
Has she milked too many cows to get music?
The mackerel.
You know what it feels like? It feels like when you invite your parents to a sketch show of yours in college and they walk out going like, that was nice. You're like, you don't get it, Mom. It's not a skit.
I was just about to say that, and they call it a skit. And you're like, no, it's a sketch.
It's different. It's a game. You don't understand. All you did was what? Go to medical school?
Like, I'm sorry. Okay, what is the difference between a skit and a sketch?
It's just
You
you
tell
don't
me.
get it, okay?
What is it? I'll say the right one. What's the difference
You know
between
what?
a skit
Whatever,
and a
Mom.
sketch?
I'm trying to tell you how to do surgery on bodies.
This is like when you used to call cast recordings soundtracks.
Well, I don't. Okay, well, here's your allowance for the month.
Thanks.
I'll just go home. Okay.
Bye.
I love you so much.
My mom calls podcasts broadcasts.
Aw. I feel like the older I get, the more I'm just like, I am so sorry, Mom and Dad. You can call it whatever you want. It's so dumb. I'm sorry you had to come see me do basement shows that many times.
Yeah.
Sorry that my entire college theater life consisted of a theater with about 50 seats.
Like, thank you for wanting to come and support me when I was being such a fucking bitch. Okay. And thank you for listening to podcasts that I do. My parents legitimately listen to podcasts that I do. That's so nice.
That is nice.
So shout out to my parents.
Parents do not, because my mom keeps asking me what time to listen on the radio.
Oh, that's sweet.
Yeah,
though.
it is. I mean, it is nice that they're supportive now and whatever. Ryan's mom listens all the time.
Really?
To everything she does. And if it's late and being posted, she'll text and be like, where's the episode? It's really
I
sweet.
love
So we're always
that.
like, hey, Drew, shout out to Drew.
The way my mom supports me is by not listening, but
Yeah.
like to give me my
Space.
space. She's like, and then you don't have to be worried about what you say.
Yeah, that's nice.
Nice.
I think my mom would like to not know what I
Everyone's
say.
supportive in their way.
Okay, so where were we in this awful story?
It's all the same, so just pick a sentence.
It's another color list. No.
Oh, yay.
No. It's a hand description.
Oh,
Yay!
fun.
They were stretched and pulled and twisted into mere tentacles to hold
Oh
and
my
lift.
I'm
and
sorry.
lead
I'm
with.
sorry. I don't think they
Lay
look like
off.
tentacles. Speaking as somebody who I really detest my hands and I don't like anybody looking at them,
What? You have lovely
they
hands.
are like really, like the knuckles are really.
No.
But
a
you
lot.
have long, slender fingers. Everybody wants long, slender fingers.
That's what you think when you look from this way. Don't
What do
worry
they look
about
like
looking
the
on the
other
other side.
way?
You don't have to worry about what's happening on the other side.
Kelly just showed us her hands.
It's really bad. It's really bad.
Put that away, woman.
Get those tentacles out of my face.
Yeah, wait.
How do you listen to music with those hands?
What are you getting out of this?
The palms unduly swollen, the fingers bent and knotted. On one of them, a thin, worn band that had once been a wedding ring. As I pressed and
Once been.
gently
It still is.
quieted one of those groping hands, I remembered with quivering eyelids their services for me in other days.
Wait, so he's remembering by
Ew.
literally like fluttering his eyelid. His aunt's like, oh my god.
His eyes just fully rolled
He's
back
just
in his
still
head.
fucking staring at me, and now his eyelids are quivering.
Did he fall asleep? Is
I
he in
had-
REM?
Soon after the tenor began the prize song, I heard a quick drawn breath and turned to my aunt. Her eyes were closed, but the tears were glistening on her cheeks.
What
and I
could she be
think
getting from it?
in a moment more, they were in my eyes as well. It never really dies then, the soul.
What?
Wait, so he thought her soul was dead because she was so old and covered in barf.
Because she hadn't lived in the
She's
city.
still
You
in
just
there.
wouldn't get it if you like don't live in the city.
You know, like you start to lose it. You're only truly alive when you're here.
That's right.
She's dead inside.
It withers to the outward eye only, like that strange moss which can lie on a dusty shelf half a century and yet, if placed in water, grows green again.
You know
He
what,
called
you
her
little
soul
shit?
fucking
You know
moss?
what, you little shit? I want you to walk over to a mirror. I want you to describe your fucking self to me because I
Thank
want to
you.
know. I want to
Thank
know
you.
what you
Thank
look
you.
like.
Aristocratic
at this point.
nose.
Yeah, it's not going to be honest. I don't know why I'd
It's not,
ask.
to be honest.
My aunt wept gently throughout the development and elaboration of the melody. During the intermission before the second half of the concert, I questioned my aunt and found that the prize song was not new to her.
He
Some
questioned her?
years ago, before there, had drifted to the farm in Red Willow County a young German, a tramp. Hold on. A young German, a tramp cowpuncher. Wait, is he punching tramp cows, or is he a tramp who punches cows?
He's a hobo.
Also, what's a
My
cow
name is
puncher?
punches cows.
Fist patches. I'm
What's a tramp cow puncher?
I'm a cow puncher,
I'm
and
guessing
I'm a
he
dirty
is-
little guy.
He's like a vagrant.
But what's a
but
cow
I don't know what a
puncher?
cow puncher does.
It's when you It's
It's-
when you want to like rile up the cows so that they like the bulls. You want to
Okay.
like rile them
Okay.
up for getting
What?
like.
Okay, I have the answer, but you keep going. It's
Okay.
like Teen Creeps again.
So you're trying to rile them up for like when you hold the
Gotta
the
collect
sheep.
the spermies.
Oh, I was gonna.
Uh-huh.
They do.
No,
I was
go
gonna say
on.
when you're at your home and for entertainment, you want the bulls to run at a cloth.
Are you trying to describe matadors?
and you run up. Don't you know that matadors they start it by just punching the cows? That's how they get
Hold on, no, but what you said was when you're at home and you just want to like have a cow run a cloth. Which isn't anything.
It's artisanal. It's artisanal matadoring.
You know, it's when
when-
you are a matador, but like as a hobby at home.
It's like you get the family together.
It's like, okay, this was before TV.
Okay, what is the cowpuncher?
It is a cowboy.
Oh, that's it?
Yep.
Man.
Boo.
Yeah.
Cow puncher is way better as
It's
a
way
term.
more
I'm gonna
fun.
do that.
Yeah.
So a tramp cowpuncher who had sung in the chorus at Bayreuth when he was a boy, along with the other peasant boys and girls. That's the Hitler Youth. That's what they just
This is it.
Of a Sunday morning, he used to sit on his gingham-sheeted bed in the Hands' bedroom, which opened off the kitchen, cleaning the leather of his boots and saddle and singing the prize song while my aunt would about her work in the kitchen.
Oh, so he was her hired sex boy for a while.
Yeah, sex boy.
Cow puncher indeed.
Because she's a big fat dumb
she's a
cow.
fucking cow.
Because she's a fucking
An
cow.
old fucking toothless cow.
She had hovered about him until she had prevailed upon him to join the county church, though his sole fitness for this step, so far as I could gather, lay in his boyish face and his possession of this divine melody. Shortly afterward, he had gone to town on the 4th of July, been drunk for several days, lost his money at a faro table, ridden a saddled Texan steer on a bet, and disappeared with a fractured collarbone. That's a way better story.
Yeah,
I want to hear that
I want to hear this
story.
guy's story.
And that happened in like a sentence.
She was like, have you heard the word of the Lord? And he's like, bull, I gotta go break my arms and run away.
Meanwhile, we got 2 pages of every color of dress that the women were wearing.
Well, we have come to better things than the old Trovatore at any rate, Aunt Georgie, I queried with well-meant jocularity. Her lip quivered and she hastily put her handkerchief up to her mouth.
She's like, shut up, you dumb idiot.
From behind it, she murmured, "And have you been hearing this ever since you left me, Clark?" Her question was the gentlest and saddest of
Clark?
reproaches.
Clark, isn't that?
No, we knew
his name was
that's
Clark
his
the
name.
whole
Oh,
time.
his? Oh,
Yeah.
okay. I thought it was the uncle.
But do you get it, Aunt Georgiana? The astonishing structure of it all.
Is this a task at like us in our early 20s?
It totally is.
Brett knew us when we were in our 20s.
You know what? This is fair, Brett.
Mom,
fair.
you don't understand how to talk about this movie we just saw, so you don't know if it's good.
But do you understand why? Do you understand why
Okay,
it's good?
here's why that's funny.
Who could, she said absently. Why should one? The second half of the
True.
program consisted of 4 numbers from The Ring. This was followed...
The movie The Ring. they did a musical version of The Ring.
The musical parody version.
This was followed by the forest music from Siegfried, and the program closed with
Troy.
Siegfried's funeral march. My aunt wept quietly, but almost continuously. I was perplexed as to what measure of musical comprehension... Why does he fucking care if she fucking gets it? It's fucking music. I fucking hate...
You know what? If she's crying, she gets it. She's
Also,
having
like-
an emotional response. That means that brains are happening behind her head.
Also, all this expository shit about her musical training is like, there's your answer.
Yeah, you've answered your own question.
Okay, where the fuck, I don't like this. I was perplexed as to what measure of musical comprehension was left to her who had nothing but the singing of gospel hymns and Methodist services at the square frame schoolhouse on Section 13.
He's so embarrassing.
I was unable to gouge how much of it had been dissolved in soap suds or worked into bread or milked into the bottom of the pail. This fucking guy,
Shut the fuck up.
The deluge of sound poured on and on. I never knew what she found in the shining current of it. She told you! She's stupid asshole!
She's literally crying.
I never knew how far it bore her, or past what happy islands or under what skies. From the trembling of her face, I could well believe that the Siegfried March, at least, carried her out where the myriad graves are.
At least.
Out into the gray burying grounds of the sea, or into some world of death vaster yet, where, from the beginning of the world, hope has lain down with hope, and dream with dream, and renouncing slept.
And fucked.
Yeah.
The concert was over. The people filed out of the hall, chattering and laughing, glad to relax and find the living level again. But my kinswoman made no effort to rise. I spoke gently to her. She burst into tears and sobbed pleadingly, "I don't want to go, Clark. I don't want to go." Then she has to go back to fucking Clark's house.
Yeah, no. She's like,
Yeah.
I don't want to be alone with you.
You pretentious fuck.
Like, you think that you are hiding it, but you are so transparent. I'm going to stay with my friend Violet.
I understood. For her, just outside the door of the concert hall, lay the black pond with the cattle-tracked bluffs, the tall unpainted house naked as a tower, with weather-curled boards, the crook-backed ash seedlings where the dishcloths hung to dry, the gaunt, molting turkeys,
We get
picking
it.
up refuse about the kitchen door.
Honestly,
that's the end?
That's the
That's
end.
the fucking end?
I knew my ugly aunt would
the
have to walk
fucking
out of the
end?
concert and into her shitty life.
wait, she came all the way out there. I thought she was going to live with him. I didn't know that she came out
No,
there for him to for him to condescend to her at a concert.
No, she came for a fucking will reading.
Yeah, she was,
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that.
yeah.
And then she's like, oh, and I'll see my nephew. We've come to this concert. And
he's just like,
I
but
really
what
miss-
did you like about it?
But what could you possibly have gotten? All you do is clean dishes.
Ancient Beast, what did you like?
We've all...
If you can still speak a language, reach out to me. If you can't, just try to tell me through your stupid sow's eyes.
He's that fucking guy who's like, I don't believe in small talk. I want to talk about religion and like atoms. I want to talk about real shit. It's like
talk.
nobody wants to talk to you about real shit. You suck.
So, or like the guy that's like, I think we should just really get to know each other right away. What's your relationship like with your mom?
Do you believe in God? Have you read Infinite Jest?
What about A Confederacy of Dunces?
I only read Pynchon. Do you like Thomas Pynchon?
John Updike?
Well,
Brett
Brett
fucked us again with
Yes.
another boring, stupid story.
yeah. Oh,
I
mean,
wish an animal had died in that.
honestly, spice things up a little.
You know what? At some point in this bore of a story, boo, Brett. It occurred to me that like she's considered Willa Cather is like considered classic literature.
Yes.
At this point, like My Antonia, like people are still reading that. Kids are told to read things of Willa Cather's. You guys, what we could be that.
We could easily
You
write
guys,
this.
we're just as talented.
I know colors. I know ways
I know
to call
all the
people
colors.
ugly.
I know synonyms for colors too. I can open a crayon box.
And what are the ideas aren't anything new. I know
have-
that if you're old and if you live what seems like a completely pleasant life,
Yeah.
you are completely cultureless.
Yeah.
You are stupid.
Mm-hmm.
You are probably very ugly.
Mm-hmm.
I could talk about that.
Yeah.
My stupid cousin sucks. She has many scarves. They're green, brown, gray, auburn,
Wow, you're going to be a signed reading in school
Ecru.
someday. Yeah, ecru.
green and crimson and something
Yeah.
and gold and red and accurate.
Wholly
and
unfamiliar with
peach.
that musical.
It's not great. There is a song that's just listing some colors.
I want to play us out with it, but
Andrew Lloyd Webber.
There-
Andrew Lloyd Webber will
I
pop up out of the middle of this
I
table and sue us.
fucking hate Andrew Lloyd Webber stuff.
Fuck that guy.
Yeah.
Fuck Andrew
He's
Lloyd
an
Webber.
old country ant.
Fuck all of he's a stupid train sick cow. All right. Well, we all know what we thought of that story. My
Yes.
favorite part was the word accrue.
Yeah,
I really
I like
liked
that part.
Cow puncher. I liked learning
That
tramp
was
cow puncher.
That was pretty fun.
When I got to that, I was like, this is the dirtiest thing I've ever said out loud.
Tramp cow puncher.
It sounds like a slur.
It could
does.
definitely be a
It
sex
might
act.
well be.
Yeah.
We have no idea.
Yeah.
My favorite part was
Ask
when
Brett Kavanaugh.
he was racist against me.
Yeah,
that
was fun.
That was like
That
I was
was
like,
fun.
oh, I love to just like remember that.
Yeah.
So that was cool.
We'll just keep remembering that.
Yeah, I was like, oh, you look sick. I was actually born jaundiced.
Oh.
Same.
Oh, yay.
Commonalities. I
Yay.
was born with broken bones.
Oh,
Wait,
Broken
what?
cheekbone
Really?
and a broken collarbone. It was the forceps.
Oh.
The doctor broke my bones. Yeah.
Doctor.
Dr. Honeycutt.
Really?
No, really?
Yeah.
Oh, blast.
You shouldn't have gone to a fake doctor.
I know.
I know.
I know. That
and
was
he kept saying, doctor, doctor, doctor.
I'm Dr. Honeycutt.
Cool. Well, you guys, thank you so much for coming on and doing
you
this
guys
show.
so much for having
thank
me.
you.
Do you have anything you would like to plug?
Just follow me on Twitter at Jenny Jaffe, and I'm sure I'll put whatever I have to plug right there.
Yay.
Yay.
Thank you guys so much for listening. And thank you to those of you who have left us lovely reviews on Apple Podcasts. If you have not done that, please do it. It's the thing that helps baby podcast the most.
Mhm. Tell a friend.
Tell a friend.
Yeah,
tell an
tell a
enemy.
friend.
Tell an acquaintance.
Tell an aunt you hate.
Yeah. Yeah, like comment on her appearance and tell her.
And make her listen to it while you're sitting with her.
What are you getting out of this podcast, you ugly slut?
Yeah.
You ugly slut. So do that.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much for listening.
Yep. Keep it lit.
Forever Dog.
This has been a Forever Dog production. Executive produced by Brett Boehm, Joe Cilio, and Alex Ramsey. For more original podcasts, please visit foreverdogpodcasts.com and subscribe to our shows on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Keep up with the latest Forever Dog news by following us